midnight sun. Un- Speaking of voice, today I wanted to chat a little bit about voice, finding voice, refinding voice again, because that has been pretty front of mind for me over the weekend. Um, I think part of the reason that has been is because one interesting learning about trying to put yourself out in any real way, like in a that goes beyond your comfort zone, whether that's online or with a new group of people or new jobs or whatever, you're challenged to package and present yourself in a somewhat coherent, cohesive way, or at least maybe that's a trap, but maybe we feel that way. I think I've felt that way, or on reflection, have realized I've felt that way. And there's some pretty interesting, somewhat conflicting parts of my personality that, make it difficult to feel as if I can authentically kind of show up in a way that feels like it represents the different kind of aspects and things of me that I want to share. Some of those are like things that would make sense in this kind of setting, right? Like I love to like figure things out and dive into information and find things out and just immerse myself in some sort of depth on topics and talk about things to do with like the inner work, the inner self, the psychology of it all, and trying to understand ourselves and understand how to show up in ways that feel better and have better impacts. And then there's like this goofy, stupid, ridiculous side of me that I really, really like, that just wants to make jokes about most things and wants to space jump around to different topics because my brain works in somewhat interesting ways at times. I want to sing because it scares me and I also love it. I want to do like ridiculousness. And I've realized over the weekend that I think I've been using this project as a proxy for permission to play and to explore and to like just allow myself to be in a certain way and be those different sides to myself. But they've been more on the like things that I would find respectful, more like the first point, which is like showing depth and like knowledge and seriousness and being a certain way. And I keep finding myself gravitating to the stupider side of it, where I think I'm challenging myself to be like, well, what if you weren't just trying to make yourself sound really articulate, which like I am relatively good at articulating myself, but sometimes I just want to be stupid. And it got me thinking about a challenge that I set up in October of 2024, where basically I challenged myself to a vulnerability month. So, in that month, and it was kind of the first time I'd ever done something like that online or like posting something. It was on LinkedIn, which, like, on reflection, I have no idea why I thought LinkedIn was the appropriate place to do that. It's like probably the most scary one. So I don't know why that was the draw for me. I'll have to think a bit more about that. But essentially, over that month, I was posting every day on pieces of things to do with me, my kind of journey through certain things, and being very open and as vulnerable as I could on what was actually happening and the reality of that process for me. And it was following, I think I'd been reading Brene Brown, who is very, very intelligent at kind of putting things, writing things in a way that feels really like approachable. And her definition of vulnerability is like at the intersection, and I have it here somewhere, but at the intersection of um, uncertainty, emotional exposure, and risk. And that idea for me links very heavily to voice and this draw that I found I have towards female authors that oftentimes are writing for a female audience, but I allow myself to fall into the inclusive circle of that, which is that for me, I see voice or yeah, it comes to mind for me when we talk about being able to, it's like the enactment of your own self-confidence and your trust or your ability to trust in your own internal wisdom that says, here's who I am, here's how I show up, here's how I need to be, regardless of your expectation of me or your desires or your whatever. This is how I show up and this is how I am positioning myself. And I think I don't hear many men talk about that or struggling with that. I also don't struggle with, like, I've been accused many times of having the gift of the gab, which is like the ability to speak to anyone, to be able to present in certain ways, to kind of make things work communication wise. But I have found, and that was what that challenge aimed to kind of tackle, was that the moments that mattered most, when someone kind of crosses a boundary, when I'm having a challenging situation in the past and in the present probably too, that I have struggled to be able to stand for myself, to be able to communicate my needs effectively, and to be able to set myself up in ways that I feel like I'm trusting my own intuition and I'm saying, this is what I need in this space at this time. And it comes regardless of where you're at. And I think why oftentimes that seems to be a topic that's more discussed in groups of women is that I think if you're someone that's a little bit more, has a higher level of emotional intelligence or a higher level of empathy or sensitivity, and by sensitivity, I mean the ability to feel out what's happening in a certain space and the energy that people are bringing and be have an awareness of kind of what's going on with different dynamics, then sometimes it can feel a little bit tougher to be able to position yourself first or to take care of yourself in the way that you maybe need to, because you have some sort of a read on what someone else is expecting of you or what someone else needs, or the trying to keep everything else at balance and at play. And there's something to developing and refinding a trust within yourself that feels authentic and feels that you can kind of sit with and exist in spaces with a certain level of confidence in yourself that does not care anything about the external. And yeah, I think the reason it's been on my mind is because I have been positioning this project in a way that allows me that space to play, to exist, to, like, run around and do interesting things and be these different parts of myself. But I think I've been looking for permission from myself to just go, you're allowed to do that. You're allowed to position yourself as you. It doesn't have to be housed in this project. It doesn't have to show up in a certain way. You're allowed to go and to say, hey, this is who I am at this moment in time with the amount of information and knowledge that I have right now. And here's what I'm doing, what I'm caring about, what I'm learning, whatever it is. And it can conflict from one day to the next. It can be a deeply serious, um, you know, big time research into something and sharing about something that I find really, really important and significant. And it can be ridiculousness over here. And those things can exist simultaneously and be okay. And we're all going to be fine. And it can exist, like, it's okay. And I think it's just a good reminder for me that the work on showing up in that way and having the level of confidence to do that is probably going to be a bit of a lifelong journey. And sometimes there can be overcorrection cycles where, for example, because I've had a hard time in the past saying no to things, I found in the last little while I jump at the opportunity to say no. And sometimes that comes with its own challenges and its own difficulties as well. But I think with the amount of information that comes at me at the moment, like online and just in life, things seem to move so fast that I think everyone being able to, or let me rephrase that. I think I'm gravitating towards people who seem to have been able to connect with themselves internally and be able to then like externalize communication and things that feel aligned to who that person is and to some sort of truth. And I guess that's what I'm aspiring to allow for myself and to be able to kind of do as well. And that's just been on my mind this week. And I wanted to kind of share it and put it out there and see what surfaces by kind of having that, yeah, front of mind over the next few days. That was it.